Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Rescue workers in Lebanon are searching for more than 100 people after a huge explosion killed at least 100 and injured more than 4,000 people in the capital Beirut. This footage shows the scale of the damage to the foundations of buildings, with rubble piling up in the streets, damaged cars and overturned furniture inside homes. The governor of Beirut has said that around 300,000 people have been left homeless. The explosion caused a column of smoke to rise from the port, followed by an enormous blast. Filming the incident from the high buildings 2 kilometers from the port were thrown backwards by the shock. The explosion was so strong that it was felt as far away as Cyprus, hundreds of kilometers away, and registered as a 3.3 magnitude earthquake in the Lebanese capital. This video shows a bride posing for photographs on her wedding day, meant to be the happiest day of her life, then this. The cause of the blast remains unclear, although the president says it was likely caused by the 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate that has been stored unsafely in a warehouse since 2014. Officials have said they expect the death toll to rise further as emergency workers dig through rubble to rescue people and remove the dead. An emergency cabinet meeting has been called and a 2-week state of emergency has been declared. Australia's Victoria state has reported a record rise in COVID-19 cases and deaths as it prepares to close much of its economy to control a second wave of infections that threatens to spread across the country. The second most populous state in Australia has reported a daily high of 725 new virus infections and a record 15 deaths despite having reimposed a lockdown on Melbourne, the state capital with a population of 5 million people 4 weeks ago.
I'm so grateful and so proud to think that Victorians are dealing with this challenge, a bigger challenge than we have perhaps ever faced. And they're doing it with a sense of compassion, a sense of care for each other, a sense of concern, of course, but that really clear understanding that we are all in this together and that decisions that each and every one of us make as individuals, as families, as communities, they have an impact on all of us.
Meanwhile, in Greece, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has blamed complacency for the country's significant rise in coronavirus cases in recent days. The government has repeatedly warned it will reintroduce restrictions, including local lockdowns, if it needs to. South Africa's health minister has said the country might be over its recent surge of coronavirus cases by the end of August, but he warned that the risk of a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic still remains and containment measures must continue to be imposed. Meanwhile, solidarity walks have been held across Pakistan as the country observed Day of Exploitation in Kashmir to mark the first anniversary of India's scrapping of Kashmir's autonomy. Addressing a rally in the capital city, Islamabad, Pakistan's president condemned Indian Kashmir's change of status and demanded that the changes made in Indian Kashmir in violation of the UN resolutions and the Geneva Convention should be reversed. The Indian government stripped Jammu and Kashmir, its only Muslim-majority state, of its special rights last August. In South Korea, at least 15 people have died and more than 1,500 have been forced from their homes after torrential rain continued to trigger floods and landslides. Prime Minister Chung Sai-kyun has called for 2 areas to be declared disaster zones after 42 consecutive days of rain, the country's longest monsoon in 7 years. The rescue effort has been complicated by coronavirus restrictions, with fears that crowded shelters could spread the virus. A prize-winning Zimbabwean novelist and filmmaker has been arrested at recent protests where she accused President Emerson Mnangagwa's government of holding its people in a repressive chokehold as they endured an economic emergency. She was bundled into a police truck and was charged with breaking the COVID-19 lockdown to hold an illegal gathering. Bailed pending trial after a night in jail, the 61-year-old said she could not keep quiet while neglect and mismanagement left Zimbabweans unable to afford a decent meal and healthcare. And finally, Indonesia has released 25 turtles into the ocean after the endangered animals were recovered during a raid on poachers last month. The turtles were part of some 36 green turtles rescued in mid-July from illegal traffickers. Another 11 are set to be released back into their natural habitat on Sunday. That's according to the Agency for Conservation of Natural Resources of Bali. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.